What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Schreckbein, joined always by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2 as they head into Week 8 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-0 in the AFC North, and quite frankly, sitting in a pretty good spot to start the back end of the 2023 season. We're going to dive into some Tomlin Tuesday notes, some team identity stuff, some use of the cornerback room, a very questionable IR name to watch and monitor throughout the week, and our thoughts on that, and then a very entertaining segment, in my opinion, or what should be a very entertaining segment about some beef in the AFC North between a former Cleveland Brown and a current Cleveland Browns quarterback coach, which I don't think anybody has to second guess who those names are, at least what one of those names are. It is a beautiful day in the Berg. How are we feeling, my friend?
Feeling really good. Yes, sun was shining yesterday. Steelers are arrows pointed up. It's weird though that I don't know. There got to be very few teams in the NFL who have a 4-2 record as good as the Steelers, but the vibes are I don't know, I guess the vibes are pretty good this week, but people still have no faith in this team at all, I feel like.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I was on 93.7 The Fan last night, and they asked me, are the Steelers good? Should we have faith in the Steelers? And I said, look, at the Steelers a year ago were 2-6, and we were trying to come up with reasons why, anybody should have any faith in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now they're 4-2. It's Week 8. They control really their entire destiny. This is on them. So, should you believe in them? Are the Steelers good? I don't know if the Steelers are good, but they're good enough right now, and they seem to be trending upwards. So, yeah, it's a weird spot, but it kind of feels like this is a typical Pittsburgh Steelers spot to be in. This is who the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially under Mike Tomlin, just usually are.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one's ever going to actually trust the results. I feel like everyone is going to have some kind of reading of what they see on TV every week, and that's what they run with. No one's 4-2 is not 4-2. 4-2 is it's 4-2 with wins over. Oh, that team wasn't very good, and their losses are carry even more weight. So not everyone seems sees the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. Diving into some Tomlin Tuesday stuff. He brought up a number of topics. He wasn't so I want to say agitated as he was a year ago, although he did. I forget what the word was. I wish I remembered it off the top of my head. If you've been keeping track, and I want everybody listening to do this next Tuesday when you're watching the press conference, it seems like he hits one word. I think this word was tenor, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it was. I'm almost positive it was tenor now that it hits me.
I saw everyone tweeting about the word tenor, so I assume that's the one.
Now, because I was it's a weird word. It's never a word that you just use casually in conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm almost positive that the coaching staff, maybe it's Art Rooney, maybe it's Omar Khan, maybe it's Kenny. I don't know who it is, but somebody right before he goes out there is yo, you won't use the word tenor 5 times in this press conference. And he looks at him and he goes, I'll use it 10. And then he walks in there and he does. He dropped at least a dozen of them. Yeah. Last week, I forget what the word was, but he dropped a dozen of those. He's, I think he's got the toilet paper with the word of the day. Tenor. Yeah. Tenor was Tuesday. He was all right, this is a good one. This is good. It's a good practice. It's definitely a good practice. He dove into some team identity. He dove into some thoughts on the cornerback room, and more specifically, his thoughts on Patrick Peterson and their usage of him. Let's start with where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand as a team as a whole. Mark Caboli asked if the team identity could kind of just be gritty football, just finding a way to win, going out there, doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you get it done. Tomlin said this, quote, yes, you are. I think in 2023, when you're talking about the team identity, you're talking more intangible quality things, grit, a mindset, the approach in which you take the circumstances. Are you a calculated risk-taking group? Are you a fundamentalist group? Are you a small menu group? Those are all things that really kind of compromise identity today. But if you start talking about we're a running group, then people are going to show up in goal line defense and open the field up on you. And so it doesn't behoove you to marry yourself to an identity. All it does is make this is make the sledding more difficult in 2023. There's so much specialization in today's game. It just is. I think people for the last 2 years, maybe a little before that, I think when Ben Roethlisberger was here, the identity was Ben Roethlisberger. There's just, that was their guy. That was their offense. For the last 2 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been searching for an offensive identity. I think last year it turned into a running football team. This year, people have been searching for an answer. They haven't been able to get one. Tomlin says it is not a running football team. It is not a passing football team. It is not a win by Kenny Pickett or Matt Canada or George Pickens or Najee Harris or whoever. It is, we are a gritty football team. This is a team that just goes out there and gets the job done. Do you think that is, do you think that's enough? Do you think that is a formula that could succeed in the NFL instead of standing around saying, hey, look, we got Derrick Henry, we got Najee Harris, we got whoever, we should base our offense and our team identity off of that. Instead, it's just whatever it takes to win.
Well, I first of all think it's funny that Mike Tomlin believes that if he says, out loud in a Tuesday press conference that's how the league is going to figure out that what they want to do. That's how they're going to get inside the Steelers game plan, is if he says, yeah, we got a big offensive line and we got good running backs, so we're going to run the football. But I also think that grit is a little abstract and it can only get you so far. It's a good quality to have, but you also got to know who your personnel is. You got to know what you're good at, and that's how you kind of build identity. Getting the job done, or however you want to phrase grit, or however you want to kind of repackage that. That requires, having players that can do certain things and tailoring a game plan to their skill sets. So grit, I think, is a quality that you can have, and it is something that comes after having an identity. It is a product of using your identity. It's not necessarily someone's identity. I think there's something to the idea that this team can show up in big moments and show up late in games and really kind of elevate themselves when the pressure's the highest. But I wouldn't necessarily call that grit. I think that's just meeting the moment when the lights are the brightest. I think this team does have a little bit of grit to them. I think they, for as many times as they've, fallen and gotten punched, that they've gotten back up and they've responded really well. But yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily an identity, more of a something that they've shown. Identity's got to be like who you are before things actually happen, quite honestly.
Yeah, I think that, just to build off of that, I feel like if he came and said, yeah, we're a gritty football team in crucial moments, that's who we are, but we're a team that, we win off of the success our defense finds, or we win off of giving our offense an opportunity at the end. I feel like that's an identity, if the identity is we have to get to a place where Kenny Pickett could go win us a football game in a crucial moment. Okay. At least you understand how you have to do it. I feel like just saying, oh, we're a gritty football team. Our team's not gritty football teams. This is the NFL. Are players not gritty? Or, are most teams sitting around saying, you know what, we're pretty much fundamentally sound. We're definitely a running football team. You get us in a crucial moment. I wouldn't say we're very gritty. I wouldn't say that's what we possess.
We're soft. We're really soft.
We're a soft football team. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's just part of the NFL. That's part of football, especially at the professional level, is you're gritty. In those crucial moments, you should have an opportunity to go win that football game because everybody and their mother practices to go win that football game. Again, I think your identity for an offense really could be, we have to allow our defense to give us an opportunity. We just have to take advantage of that opportunity. I think your identity could be, controlling a clock and giving yourself a chance to keep a game close and seeing if you pull. I don't think an identity has to be we're the best running football team in the NFL, or Kenny Pickett is our guy. We live and die off of Kenny Pickett. I think that in Pittsburgh, especially, an identity for an offense could be a defense, as crazy as that sounds. And it could just be giving yourself an opportunity. Is that grit? I mean, I guess, but I feel like there's more. Like I feel like that's such a like if you walked into a meeting and you said, "All right, guys, you want to know what our identity is this year? Gritty football, gritty football." Everybody be sitting around going, "All right, how do we do that?
Right.
How are we going to be a gritty football team?" And then you're just done there. You're just like, well, we haven't figured that part out yet. We're still kind of learning.
Right, and identity is how you look at yourself, and it's a reflection of like what you think you're good at. And if all you've got is grit, I don't know. That's like not very encouraging. I mean, that's
yes,
like I said, that's something that you can show when the moment demands it, but you have to get to that moment with certain characteristics from your players. And so, I think it's, again, going back to what I like first said about, Mike Tomlin feeling like he's giving something away if he talks about their identity. Like, who your team is, and like other people can see what your team is when they actually play football. Like when they step onto the field, what you guys like to do, what you're built to do. That's what identity is. It's not, oh, we respond to this moment with these emotions.
Yes.
It's who you actually are as a football team. It's tangible stuff, and it's how you think you can win games. None of that is secret right now. Like honestly, but you just kind of want to know how Mike Tomlin views it. Like that was the point of the question. It's like, do you guys kind of know who you are and know what you're able to do or able not to do? And an interesting answer would have been, yes, we know who we are and we're very secure in like how we want to win games. We try to do it, but like, or we're still figuring that out. Like, or this is like still a growing process. And there were a couple different directions that I thought he could go in, and I don't know, to leave it all up to grit just kind of, I think sells this team short a little bit, quite honestly. Like I think there are other things about this team besides, oh, they just, are tough or whatever, or however you want to like frame whatever grit is.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think, and like don't get me wrong, I think Kaboli kind of set him up to say like, yeah, we're a gritty football team, but I think the part about him like being like, oh, well, I don't want to like label us one thing or the other. I think that, just like you said, that goes back to like, how did you construct a football team? Did you just construct a football team and just say, well, this is just a bunch of good players, we'll figure it out as we go? Because I feel like that's not a winning formula. You got to have an idea of what you're looking for, go build a team to what that plan is, and then most times that succeeds. But again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they haven't seemed to do that. They are gritty, they are winning, so you got to give them credit there. But just like you said, I felt like you had an opportunity to kind of give a bigger answer, and it kind of felt like maybe the Steelers don't know what their identity is still, which is definitely a little concerning. Tomlin also talked about Patrick Peterson a little bit and his thoughts on the cornerback room. He said that Patrick Peterson is another Cam Sutton, and that he's able to move around, and they'd like to see him move around. And I mean, we talked about it on Monday. He played 99% of the snaps. He's been playing pretty much 100% of the snaps. He's been bouncing inside, bouncing outside. I think before this past weekend, they have not been using him like Cam Sutton. And I saw where he was going with that one, where it's like a very versatile guy. I thought it was, people kind of dove into that a little bit. The Patrick Peterson's as good as Cam Sutton. You wish Patrick Peterson was good. I was like, all right, that's not what he meant. He just meant that he's versatile and that he could do all these things. I think that that's what the plan was. I think that at the same time, though, they're kind of viewing him not what the plan was. And I think that they keep talking like that. And from what I've picked up from Patrick Peterson even talking, is he had a much stronger belief coming in here that he would move around more. And they kind of made it, known that he was going to move around more, and now he's not moving around. Tomlin keeps talking about him moving around. He just moved around this past game, but he kind of needed to, because your other option was to line Chandon Sullivan up in the slot against Cooper Kupp. That could not happen. I mean, would you like Tomlin to kind of actually fulfill his words here and make Patrick Peterson more of a Cam Sutton? Do you think that they've done enough of that? What were your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think it also is a reflection of just where they're at with Joey Porter. I think we talked about this on our last episode, but there's just, for as good as he's been, I still think there's like not total faith that he can be a full-time outside corner or be kind of a quote-unquote third starter in a cornerback room like this. So I think he's getting there, and I think that faith is building, but until they get to the point where they're where they think they can roll Joey out as an outside corner for starter level, reps, which I don't really think I mean, he's taken a lot of snaps, right? Like, don't get me wrong. We talked about that, but I still think there is something there where they aren't as confident as maybe a bunch of other, like, as fans, and maybe we are in what Joey can do there. So I think it's also a reflection of we got to see a little bit more from Joey, make sure he can fully handle this before we start letting Pat Pete roam and leaving Joey kind of by himself to fend for himself. Because if I don't know, it would be tough to leave Joey out there, send Pat Pete inside and start moving him around, and then Joey gets kind of not hung out to dry, but just isn't what you think he is right away. I think they would rather hold him back a little bit, especially because things are generally working right now for the most part, before throwing themselves entirely into it. They're going to make sure that it's a winning strategy before they actually put it in games.
Do you think that if the Steelers were to begin occupying Patrick Peterson or utilizing Patrick Peterson more of a versatile type option, are you confident enough in Levi Wallace and Joey Porter Jr. to be those guys on the outside? Or is that kind of put you in a spot where maybe you'd rather Patrick Peterson on the outside with Joey Porter Jr.? How would you feel about that?
Well, I think they're going to have to, I don't really know if they have a choice, quite honestly.
No, I don't think that they do, but.
Right, because, I don't know if, is Levi going to play the inside? Is he going to play slot? Right, so, guy. So it's, I think you've got clearly three best corners. You've got one guy who really who can work in the slot, and you've got two guys who are pretty much exclusively outside guys. So I think if you're thinking about, maximization of division of labor and all that stuff, just allocation of resources and everything, it's your ideal situation is Pat Pete's able to bump inside, outside, maybe I don't know. I wonder what you think. Is Joey their best cover corner right now?
Oh yeah, I think so. I look at Joey as just I think Joey's their best cornerback in general right now.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. I think he's fast enough to keep up with guys, which Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson are not right now. I think he has the instincts and the strength to fight off guys like Puka Nacua, who's a very tough wide receiver. I think that he's got the strength there. I think he's come up in big moments. Do I think he's going to be perfect? No, but I think right now you look at him and just say athletically and just physical traits, he is your most complete corner compared to Levi Wallace, who has a hard time keeping up with a lot of guys, and Patrick Peterson, who is, he's lost a step, and maybe he's lost 2 steps at this point. And I think that if this was a zone defense like it was last year in Minnesota for him, he'd be absolutely killing it, because I just think he's so smart that he understands a defense better than anybody out there, or understands an offense better than anybody out there. But the fact that he has to run with guys and stick with guys, I just don't think it's the defense for him. So yeah, I think in my opinion, Joey's the best corner. Levi was the second best corner in my head. I think maybe he still could be. It gets me concerned when you put him out put an island out there and it's him versus Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, or maybe this week it's Calvin Ridley. It makes he can't keep up with Christian Kirk. He just can't do that. And how many times are you going to find yourself in a position where he has to, and there's not going to be the help over top where he's going to be able to stop that.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. Yeah. And so but again, I don't you don't really have many options,
no,
right?
You don't. Your other options like Chandon, is Chandon Sullivan the guy, and
right.
You just bring Levi Wallace off the bench. I think that makes it worse. I don't think you have anything.
Yeah, and then if you're bringing Chandon in to play the slot, then that means it's Pat Pete and Joey Porter, and I don't know if I feel I have my concerns about Levi Wallace on an island 1-on-1 against good receivers. I kind of have those same concerns about Patrick Peterson. I don't think he's been 100%. Spectacular either. So it's not a great situation. They're getting by with it right now, I would say. It's I mean, it's not bad. It's not adversely affecting the team in a way that's super disastrous, but Yeah, that's why I think they are. But it's why I think that they are holding back a little bit with the moving Pat Pete all the way around the field and everything like that. It's because they're just right now they are not built to just to go as deep into their cornerback room and just let guys kind of rotate in and out. They got a little bit of building with Joey before they can get to that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why it's like very desperate for them to go make a trade by the end of, I guess, next Tuesday. I just feel like, there's just you try to find a way where this works and where, it's like, oh, Pat P can be Cam Sutton, and you don't have it. You just don't have the options. What's up, guys? I have super exciting news to share with you. We have merchandise from t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and hoodies, and plenty of designs from Pickens to Pickett, Muth, Bleed Black and Gold, and of course, all of your All Steelers talk gear, all available at blackandgoldapparel.myspreadshop.com or on the store tab at our YouTube page. We cannot thank you guys enough. We would not be here without each and every one of you, and it feels awesome to be able to represent the AST brand and to spread that representation out to all of Steelers Nation. We know that you guys and us, we are one, and this has been one hell of a ride. Again, we cannot thank you guys enough. Check out everything at blackandgoldapparel.myspreadshop.com or on the YouTube page, or the store tab, on our YouTube page to get all your AST gear and whatever t-shirts, sweatshirts, shorts, nuddies, coffee mugs that you're thinking. Again, thank you guys. The last thing I want to bring up from Tomlin Tuesday here, Anthony McFarland is a guy that could be returning from IR this week. Tomlin said that, they'll monitor him. He practiced all week last week. I talked to Anthony. He said he feels great. Was dealing with a knee injury, shut down for 4 weeks. Godwin Igwebuike, had one return for 15 yards in his absence this past weekend as a kick returner after they released Gunnar Olszewski. Do you think Anthony's coming back? He's got 14 days now to make his return to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Otherwise, he'll be shut down for the season. The Steelers tend to do these things. Last year was Kella Witherspoon and Calvin Austin, where they opened the window, never activated them from the window. They got shut down for the whole season. Anthony McFarland the year before was dealing with some stuff, ended up being inactive for most of the year. I mean, Zach Banner, a couple of years ago, that was before your time here. Zach Banner was a guy who he suffered a setback. He thought he was going to be just fine, spent the whole year on IR. Do you look at Anthony as a possibility that that's the same thing that's going to happen to him, or do you hope that he comes back?
God, I really hope that is not the case, man. I was one of the people beating the Ant Mac drum all during training camp. I loved what I saw from him. I think everyone loved what they saw from him. This was supposed to be a big year for him, and it's a little disappointing how much he's, just how he fell to the wayside, how that injury really affected him. So this would be a real sad. Yeah, I'll call it sad. Yeah, it'd be really sad if this is just how this promising season kind of comes to an end. So I really hope not. I mean, just with every passing day that he's not activated, you're less and less optimistic, It's just, as time wears on, the odds that when you get closer to that deadline, it does not make you feel any better. And it's not like the Steelers couldn't use him. It's not like he's a completely, obsolete guy. His skill set would be really valuable to this team. So I really hope he comes back. I can't say, I don't know. I get less and less optimistic with time, and I'm not very optimistic today. And if you ask me tomorrow, I'm going to be even less optimistic until the day he gets activated, quite honestly. So I really hope not. But
I agree. He seemed like a guy, and then I got rumbles last week that, he wasn't going to be activated, and I was a little surprised. And then he wasn't activated, and I went, okay, well, got to believe what you hear. This week I've heard some of the same, that the Steelers just don't have plans right now to add him back to the right. It just doesn't make any sense to me. If Godwin Igwebuike came in here and was just killing it, and he was the dude, and the Steelers found a diamond in the rough, that's cool. That makes a lot of sense. But they didn't. They don't. Nobody's worked as a kick returner since Anthony McFarland in week 1. Like, what are you holding him back for? What is the issue here? I just don't. But it's a classic Pittsburgh Steelers move to just say, like, well, we'd rather be cautious, and this isn't a guy that is a key element to the team, even though he is. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a wait and see thing. I agree with you. Every day that passes makes me more and more nervous. If I'm somebody that's sitting around going, I'm pretty positive he's coming back, just from what I hear, and you can believe me or you don't believe me, that's on you. But I've heard that, that's very, very much so still up in the air, which stinks because, like I said he looked good. I thought he's looked good, just doesn't make much sense to me, but it's where the Pittsburgh Steelers are currently. Again, we'll wait and see. The other name to monitor injury wise before we move on here, Cole Holcomb dealing with an ankle. That's definitely a pretty big blow to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I gotta say, man, Quan Alexander's been killing it so much the last 2 weeks that if I'm picking an inside linebacker one for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's Quan Alexander right now.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, I mean, like you feel much more comfortable with. I mean, like I think Landon Roberts been pretty good. I think.
Yeah. But Roberts isn't a pass guy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I think Cole's like been pretty good too. But you can definitely. But I mean, Cole returned to he hurt in the Rams game, came back. So like, I don't know. I think this might be just a little bit more nagging, and I think he'll probably end up being all right. But I think you can also like survive with just Quan and Landon Roberts. Like I'd feel good about that rolling into the Jags game with just them. So you hope Cole comes back, but I'm pretty optimistic he'll end up playing on Sunday.
Yeah, those two and a little Mark Robb.
Yeah.
Could go with a little Mark Robb.
Sprinkle a little Mark Robb in there.
A little Mark Robb. I'd be about it. I would like to see a little Mark Robb in regular season defensive action here. Wouldn't be upset about it. All right, last thing we got to talk about here. Non-Pittsburgh Steelers related, but also Pittsburgh Steelers related. Deshaun Watson, big giant question mark for the Cleveland Browns right now. Hot topic of conversation. For those of you who did not watch the game on Sunday, I believe, against the Indianapolis Colts, Deshaun Watson finally returned after missing, I believe, the last 2 games with the shoulder injury, came back. First off, let's start right from the beginning here. Deshaun Watson suffers a shoulder injury, is cleared to play 2 weeks ago. 90 minutes before the game, he tells the Cleveland Browns, I'm not going. I'm not playing. I don't feel good enough to play. I'm not playing. So PJ Walker gets the start. Or no, I take that back. DTR gets the start. Stinks. The guy, I mean, how good can I think he was a 5th round rookie. How good could a 5th round rookie be with 90 minutes of preparation before a football game? Can't be great. He sits the next 2 games. PJ Walker comes in the next week. He starts. He wins. This past weekend, Deshaun Watson returns to the field. In the first quarter, throws 2 interceptions. On that second interception, he gets sacked. He goes down. He stays down. He comes off the field. People are quickly assuming it's the shoulder. This is a shoulder injury again. Then it's announced by the Cleveland Browns that he was checked for a concussion and cleared. So he was allowed to go back into the game. He did not. He stayed on the sidelines the entire afternoon. After the game, Kevin Stefanski says it was just a precautionary thing. We're trying to protect our quarterback. PJ Walker led him to a win. That's, I think, adds a little bit more to the story here. Kevin Stefanski's asked the next day if Watson is a candidate for IR. Stefanski says it's day to day. We don't really have an idea as of right now. In my head, that goes, yeah, probably he's going to end up on IR. And if he doesn't end up on IR, he's definitely going to miss some time. PJ Walker's your guy. Brady Quinn brings up the conversation because for those of you who don't know, Deshaun Watson has a fully guaranteed $230 million deal by the Cleveland Browns. He's 6-4 so far as a starting quarterback in Cleveland. I think he threw 11 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in those 10 games. Not great stats here. Brady Quinn, appearing on Fox Sports Radio, goes, quote, everyone with a medical opinion has cleared Deshaun Watson. The situation is almost similar to a kid getting a $230 million trust fund. You ask them to get a job and they have no incentive to do it. Big words by the former Cleveland Browns quarterback. Deshaun Watson's personal quarterback coach, Quincy Avery, who, pretty respected around the league, has a ton of clients in the NFL. He was not a fan about this. He tweets back at the quote tweet from Fox Sports Radio. He goes, Brady, I'm gonna be real. You don't know what the blank you are talking about and sit behind a microphone gossiping like a little high school chick. That led to definitely some back and forth. It was amazing. Brady Quinn comes out with the little, you could talk to me anytime in person. This is an open invitation. Quincy says, I already saw you. It is what it is. Brady says, well, I didn't see you. Quincy just goes a little point being, because at this point, I think Quincy realizes he's losing the conversation. He's not winning this battle right here. Brady drops the biggest bomb you could possibly drop right now and goes, how about we massage this conversation and get it to a happy ending? Does that sound satisfactory? I mean, mic drop. Quincy comes back and says, we're going to put this on the table till the next time I see you. If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, you definitely woke up to some humor this morning because that was a great little battle, great little dispute on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. When you saw it, man, were you laughing as hard as I was? Because I was definitely cracking up reading these.
I was just more thinking, I would never. I mean, look, I know this guy's close. I know Quincy Avery's close to Deshaun. He has a vested interest in this guy's success and all that. I'm sure they're close and he cares about him. You would not find me going to bat for Deshaun Watson on a Wednesday morning or whenever this happened. I don't know if this was last night, but like, man, I'm not wasting my time doing this. Like, I just not worth it. Like, you have this opinion, sure, but like, keep that to yourself. Like, that's just not a winning, because I don't think you're just never going to win this battle.
No,
you know, like for a guy like Deshaun Watson, like I'm not going to go to bat for a guy like that, first of all. But I understand, like, you know, Quincy Avery's situation's different, but also like like you said, he's got that contract, and that is going to be the lens through which everyone judges everything that he does. You got a lot of money to be this team's quarterback and to be really good at it, and the rest of this team is pretty good. And I don't watch every Browns game. You know, missing Nick Chubb is a big deal. They lost Jerome Ford too. He's, I don't think, going to play this week either. As fantasy owner, that's a pretty big bummer. But but like this is a good team, and it seems like there's one squeaky wheel, and it's at quarterback. Like it's hard to get around that. So especially when, you know, PJ Walker's been pretty good when he comes in. And like so this is just it is going to always be a bad look and is always going to be a losing argument if you are trying to tell people that they don't actually understand what's going on when their star quarterback, who's getting $200 million, is medically cleared and still sitting out games like that. You know, just like, well, like, can kind of call it what it is, like ignoring the advice of team doctors and medical personnel, like on the team. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't look good.
No, if you do a quick scroll through the tweets, it is a lot of very angry Cleveland Browns fans that are like, Quincy, man, shut up, because Brady's 100% right. This is ridiculous. The guy sucks. He's taking up way too much cap space. You got to remember, I think the thing that gets overlooked in the Deshaun Watson like contract conversation all the time is that the Browns also gave up 3 first-round picks. 3 first-round picks and $230 million for a guy who is not that good right now. And the next 3 years of his deal, the final 3 years of Deshaun Watson's deal, he takes up just under $64 million worth of cap space. $64 million. That's unreal. Like, that is, you could look at any quarterback contract and say that is as ridiculous. How do you win it? You can't do that. Like, you can't. That is way too much money, and you can't get out of it. Like, you are as stuck as can be.
You mortgaged your future and sold your soul for this guy. Like,
yes,
I think that's, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't have done it if I were the Browns, but you have to. It's okay, I think, for them to like demand certain things of this guy that they invested so much in. I don't think that's inappropriate at all for them to do that. So what do you
like being cautious about? What are you protecting your quarterback about? Like, I think that's the thing is, I think it's really kind of funny, and like the irony is so real that Baker Mayfield's time in Cleveland ended because they forced him to play with a shoulder injury that clearly impacted his play. And everybody hated him by the time it was done. because they were like, dude, you got to play. It doesn't matter how hurt you are, whatever. Deshaun Watson's getting cleared by everybody, and they're like, you know what? No, stay on the bench. You're fine. No big deal. And meanwhile, Baker Mayfield was working on a 5th-year option, I'm pretty sure, and Deshaun Watson's out here with the biggest deal in NFL history, the craziest deal in NFL history, and that's the guy that you're protecting.
And then you look at what Baker did in LA and even in what he's doing in Tampa right now. Like, I know, like, he's making. No, I guess that Tampa's out. He's got a couple good receivers down in Tampa, but no one expected them to do anything.
No.
Least of all me. And he is making the most of that situation down there. So just like you look at that stuff on top of what Deshaun is doing right now, and I don't know if you wonder what could have been, but you are.
No, but you still think it like adds to the how bad the situation was. Like PJ Walker led them to 2 wins. He's 2-0, and he's looked fine. And you just think like, well, what could we do? How much better can we be if Deshaun Watson isn't? Yeah, if Deshaun Watson doesn't take up $50 million of our cap space and sit on the bench, like, I don't know. It's a tough situation for the Cleveland Browns. I don't think they're getting out of it. I don't expect Deshaun Watson to be on the field when the Pittsburgh Steelers face them in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I think his season's going to quietly come to an end very soon. And then you go into a conversation about where the Cleveland Browns could be and how good they could possibly be. But man, dude, it was rough. Shout out Brady Quinn, man. Shout out. That was as savage as it gets. That final little blow there was.
He was throwing haymakers for sure.
Haymakers. Yeah. Fantastic. And like I think the craziest part is like Avery came at Brady Quinn, but if you actually like watch the thing, and I know he just saw the tweet real fast, but if you watch the thing, LeVar Arrington, who was one of the hosts, was like he went on. He
was even worse. Yeah.
He was like, 100%. Like, yeah. And then, but
he was more intense than Brady by like a mile. Like it was
exactly. But Brady's got clipped. It got put on Twitter. Quincy was not having it. I think what Quincy needs to realize, and what I think anybody who's like out here defending Deshaun Watson needs to realize, is that like it's not just the media, it's not just some players, it's pretty much the entire fan base that's like, hey man, what are we doing here? What the hell is going on? Can we get our quarterback back? And if he sucks, can we figure out a way to get rid of him and find something good? But man, dude, it can't feel good to be a Cleveland Browns fan right now because you got some big question marks. And I mean, hey, maybe PJ Walker could lead you to a Super Bowl and you see what happens there. But
I'd love that, dude. I mean, love PJ
outside
Walker.
of the Cleveland Browns, yes, would be fantastic.
Well, sure, but I am a huge PJ Walker guy. I love that guy. So
yeah, I agree. PJ Walker was the dude. Was hoping he ended up in Pittsburgh last season after his XFL stunt, but it's all right. Would be a big PJ Walker fan. Also, Temple guy, right?
That's right. That's what I remember when I was a kid watching him. Like those Temple teams were actually really good, and he was their starting quarterback. He was awesome. So
yeah. Shout out PJ Walker. We'll see what happens with Deshaun Watson. With that, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Find us anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, go check out all mine and Steven's work at allsteelers.com and our pick coverage at insidethepanthers.com. We will be back on Friday to preview Week 8 Pittsburgh Steelers versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.